We will now be moving on to the next segment, Beyond Bengaluru, Understanding from Best Practices Across India. This session will showcase nature-based solutions and water-sensitive design approaches from other cities and regions that could serve as transferable lessons for Bangalore to adapt to build sponge ecosystems, apply catchment-based design and embed NBS into the urban infrastructure. Our first speaker is Ms. Simranpreet Kaur. Ms. Simranpreet Kaur is an accomplished urban designer and architect working as Senior Urban Environment Specialist at the National Institute of Urban Affairs. At NIUA, she plays a pivotal role in preparing urban river management plans for 60 Ganga cities, contributing to water-sensitive urban planning and climate resilience via nature-based solutions.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are all energized. No, thank you so much. So I am Simran. I am from NIUA Delhi. I am representing NIUA's work here today. So today we'll be talking about mostly the urban river management plan framework that NIUA has developed. And by river, it does not just restrict itself to the river. It is talking about the larger water ecosystem. It talks about the larger water ecosystem, including drains, water bodies, and wetlands. We'll just go through it. So this all started in 2019 when PM talked about the river-centric thinking around our water bodies in our countries. Because till then, we were just thinking about stopping the pollution from going into the water bodies, not just the rivers, but the overall water bodies. But then we needed to control and think beyond just the pollution and how we could do that. NIUA with NMCG, that is National Mission for Clean Ganga, developed a framework which is called Urban River Management Plan. It's a holistic framework which talks about so many things that we have been talking about since morning. And okay, so Urban River Management Plan is a holistic framework which talks about coordination between the agencies on one table, planning driven, that is infrastructure projects, and also the soft interventions that can happen, water bodies, wetlands, nallah as the integrated system, and talking about the ecological, economic, and the social aspects of it. So the whole approach, how we designed this framework was, if it has to be replicable, it has to be kept simple. We cannot use the jargon of words that is not understandable to the cities that are going to implement it. So the elements of URMP, that is ecology, economy, and social, were defined. And for each city, then you develop the vision. Until unless you have a vision that is binding your thought process, carving out the projects, when we are talking about the holistic and in the integration of the projects, it does not justify. Because one thing might be talking about one kind of marquee project, which is a standalone thing, and the second might not even integrate with it. So the holistic vision binding is important. And then is the 10 objectives that I'll be talking about in details, and monitoring and evaluation mechanism. So all these orange boxes that you see are the standardized process that were defined for all cities to follow, whereas the intervention and the financing mechanism becomes the specific to those cities wherever it is being implemented, based on the kind of funding they already have and the kind of projects that are being carved out. So all of this structure, like I mentioned, the objectives, so the three categories, the three elements, environment, social, and economic, have been categorized under 10 objectives. So environment caters to 6 major objectives. I will not go into detail because I need to show you the best practices too. So it talks about regulating the activities in floodplain via drainage master plan and the master plan that we were talking in the session number 1. It talks about the pollution-free river, that how we can stop it. It talks about riparian buffer and the green buffers along it. The rejuvenation of water bodies, wetlands, and nallahs, increased use of treated water, maximum good quality return flow, which talks about the aquifer management and the overall water-sensitive urban design. Eco-friendly riverfront projects and economic potential of the river, so that even real estate sees the value in it and also city can earn from whatever they are investing in. And last comes is the social, where people can be made aware and they can be considered as one of the stakeholder and a part of the projects that are being developed. So all of this and so many URMPs have already been prepared by NIUA, and 60 URMPs are in process right now in Ganga Basin. So while we are talking today about specifically how nature-based solutions can be integrated in the water bodies, nallahs, and how Bangalore can also solve this problem, or what learnings can Bangalore take away. So mostly, as per my understanding, these are the four objectives that perfectly fit in with the solutions that are being talked of today. So when we talk about rejuvenation of water bodies, we are not just talking in isolation rejuvenation. Somebody in the session 2 was talking about that even when we stop the pollution, the purpose or the type of activity that is defined for that water body changes, and it also changes the kind of scenario it has in the surroundings. Is it an ecologically sensitive water body? Is it a recreational water body? Or is it just a corporate water body or the industrial level water body? So that also defines a lot of stuff. So when we talk about the nallahs, nallahs I mean, it's now everybody has been talking about it since morning, that they are the carriers of the waste now, where it should have been just the carrier of the water, the excess water from the rains, or it should have been just the monsoon driven thing. Now they are not the just active channels, but they are the polluted channels in the city that are the dumping grounds for the decentralized colonies and everything. So even if we think about the decentralized solutions, we need to think about stopping the pollution. Sometimes sewage treatment plant is not sufficient for that kind of pollution that is there. It is too less. So that is where nature-based treatment technologies or the nature-based solutions with the hybrid technologies come into play when we want to treat even the waste that is going on in the nallahs. So today I'll be discussing one example from Bhubaneswar that we have recently worked on while developing the toolkit for nature-based solutions. So we were supposed to design solutions for some drains that are carrying a huge volume of waste. And we know the story of Bhubaneswar is no different than any other Indian city. So how we approach the problem is we cannot see the things in isolation, that if you want to develop a linear park or near the bridge, or you want to do the bus stand rejuvenation, it cannot happen. So you need to look at the nala from the holistic perspective, where the pollution source is. You define the different zones, that is pre-treatment zone, then the treatment zone, settlement zone, and then comes the placemaking in picture. If we directly say, like in the morning, one person was mentioning that placemaking plays a very important role these days. But placemaking in isolation or treatment in isolation cannot work. It has to be looked at from the integrated perspective. And also, even when it is done, how the maintenance becomes important. Because maintenance is not just trimming the plants. It is also about maintaining the DO level of water that is running through the drain, because that is what defines the healthy water body. That is what defines if you have the fishes. Fishes will not thrive if the DO is less than 2. So you need aeration and the continuous management and the maintenance of that drain also. And depending upon, so these were the visuals that were created, this on the actual picture that were created. And it is not just the greenery that has been proposed, but it is also the floating wetlands and the aerators that also help to maintain. Now, where comes the challenge? The challenge is such solutions might not be very efficient standalone in a huge volume, like maybe 20 mld, 30 mld. Nature-based solutions in isolation may work for 1 to 2 mld capacity. We need to shift to the hybrid alternates if we want to treat the larger flows of the larger volumes. And that is where another example from URMP of Prayagraj, that is Urban River Management Plan of Prayagraj, comes into picture, where 29 mld flow, this Sasur Khadri drain, which falls into Yamuna directly, it has 29 mld flow with BOD of almost 110, and TSS was more than 200. So we had a huge challenge to design the nature-based solution for it. So we opted for the hybrid solutions, where we went from the constructed wetlands in the starting, pollution traps in the middle, and then coming with the aeration and the settlement zones on the frequent intervals again and again along at least 1.5 kilometer stretch. Why? Because when you see here, so there were settlements in pockets. It was not a continuous settlement. So we cannot say that we cannot wait for the drainage line to be installed. Even if when they are throwing out the pollutants inside the drain, if we have the proper settlement zone and then we aerate the water, it all the biological waste settles down, and it can be very easily cleaned off. Even if you clean it maybe once in 3 months, the sludge is not much, and it is reusable and can be used for the horticulture purposes. And that was what was our strategy. It has not been implemented yet, but the detailed proposal has been accepted by the city and will be implemented in the next year. And this was the kind of elevation profile we gave for the riparian buffers and what kind of plantations they should choose while they are preparing for it. This was about the drains. Next comes about the water bodies. In Delhi, you must be knowing that there is a huge waste management problem, solid or liquid, whatever, and air pollution also. It is not that Delhi does not flood. It floods, but only the specific areas flood. So what lacks is the overall understanding about the drainage profile of the city. Delhi has a drainage master plan. Delhi has Master Plan 2041. Delhi has so many infrastructure projects that are in place, but everything is happening in silos without any integration. And that is where now URMP for Delhi is under preparation, integrating all of them. But that's a separate story. So this project came with the intention that you see that in the after picture, there is a blue shed type building. That is a STP in Dwarka. Dwarka is one of the outer areas near the airport in Delhi, if you've not been there. So there was a huge land available, because generally STPs engineers really like to have huge land parcels under their perspective and not allowing anybody to use them. So what we did is, we had a conversation with them, we did some MOUs, and this happened under Delhi government's initiative. So that STP's water was used to fill in the lakes. These lakes existed somewhere in the back, maybe 20 years, 30 years back, but now they were all a flat land. First, we did the geological studies, and the discharge and the recharge zone studies, that is this a recharge zone or not. Once we knew that this is a recharge zone, 2 water bodies were dug out, one for 7 acres and one for 4 acres. And the treated water, the tertiary treatment plant was installed, and then the treated water was used to fill in these lakes. And you will not imagine, within one rainfall, that is 1.5 months, we could see 6.5 meters increase in the water level in the piezometer, that is track recorded, in one rainfall season. That's all. And now it is still existing, and now the Delhi Jal Board later on then installed some tube wells so that they can add it to the water supply of the overall city. And the overall outfall of the overflow of this goes into that Najafgarh Nala behind those lakes. So considering the lake rejuvenation, considering the drain rejuvenation, and considering the overall water management cannot happen in isolation. This is one of the good examples where we talk of the circular economy. Everything falling into place because everything is interconnected. And also reuse of treated water in a very efficient way. And tertiary treatment plant was installed because CPCB standards do not allow the secondary treatment to be in the water touchable areas. And now this landscape, in the phase 2, this lake will be used for the landscape. A very similar example is Rajokri water body, but this was done way back in 2018-19. Again, the similar kind of system, but in a very decentralized way. Constructed wetlands were used in the neighborhood level water body, which is very small, almost 1.2 acres water body. And the gravel beds and the floating wetlands were used along with the constructed wetland to maintain the water body. Another example from URMP for Gorakhpur, it has recently been approved by NMCG, is the urban flood management system. Now we talked about the urban infrastructure projects, but technology also plays an important role, like Ganesh was mentioning in the first half of it, that if we do not go for the technologically advanced solutions, we might not be able to cater to all the problems or all the solutions of the problem that we are trying to cater. So what they did, Gorakhpur is like a saucer. The river is at the higher level and the city is at the lower level. So, and they have to drain off the water every rainfall. So what they did is they created a UFMS system just like ICCC, Integrated Command Control Center. They have a flood management center. There they have real-time data of how much water is being filled in all the drains. They have sensors all across the city, along the natural drains and the channelized drains. And they'd record the data on real-time basis, all through available on the platform. And that data does not only help in waterlogging forecast, it also helps them prepare so that they can help, they can also clean the drains. The desilting of the drains can happen frequently and also on timely basis. So water levels are all marked, and that is how they see the results, that whenever the water level reaches the danger mark, so they know which areas to be prepared of, and the pumps automatically start functioning and pumping out the water and throwing out in the other direction. So that is the automated system that has been functioning since last one and a half year for Gorakhpur. Recently now again, they have in the land, they have a huge floodplain. There are two rivers going through Gorakhpur, that is Rohini and Rapti river. So you understand the kind of flood situation they must have every year. So now to store the water, and since the groundwater levels are depleting faster, they are trying to have some sponge areas in the city. So now, then again, Mahesra Sponge Park is underway, and the kind of strategies that are being looked over for that is again managing the aquifer, storing the flood water, not just to have the water capacity increased, but also to act as a shock absorber, right? And making it like a public space so that it just not only acts as a functional space, but also the public space along it. One of our panel members will also be talking about from EcoSatwa. They were our partners in URMP for Aurangabad. One of the sponge parks was also created under URMP for Aurangabad, again acting as the sponge for the water supply. Talking of the last technology, this must be my last, and I will complete on time. Yes. Another intervention that we did for Gwalior recently, and it got launched already, is preparing the dashboard for city officials, where they have all the solutions in one place. This dashboard is accessible to all the officials for decision making. If you see, there is a section called key decisions. So you do not just go have the mapping of the data, but you also can actually think of the solutions from this. If you want the flood risk assessment, which areas will get flooded this year, so you will have the list of things that you need to work on and the hotspots that will be vulnerable points this year. Similarly, if you want the recharge zones and the discharge zones, before you decide that which area will act as a sponge park and which area will not act as a sponge park, or where to dug the well and where to not dug the well, such studies actually serve as a holistic intersection. Last one is the Decode NBS tool. Vaishnavi was here in the morning. She was a part of this tool creation while she was with NIUA. This tool is again a nudging tool. I will not say it's the one-stop solution. It's just a nudging tool for all the cities that we are working with, that you enter the certain data, you enter the city data, city profile, which kind of geoclimatic zone you are working on, and you will have some customized solutions to your city, and you can choose amongst those solutions. And this works as one solution, at least as a start point for the city, because many times city officials, when you talk to them, they don't even know what the solutions are. So at least when they have the keywords, they can ask their consultant to work on those specific things specifically. And I will not say that it is one-stop solution, but at least it nudges those government officials to think in those directions other than the concretized option. Since NIUA works with a lot of cities, and that is why most of our solutions are cities oriented and the Sarkari officer driven and not a very technical solution, with a very simple language, because if they are not able to understand and translate into their practice every day, our job does not justify. So these are the kind of solutions, and this is the Decode NBS toolkit tool that web page that is there. If there is the link to it, you can always explore and check it for your city. Similarly, the NIUA is also developing a toolkit for drain rejuvenation. And I was told to talk about at least the approach of what is the approach that we are developing for this toolkit. We have divided this toolkit into 3 parts. One is compilation of all the regulatory frameworks, national, international, and state specific, whatever exists, so that it acts as the basic charter for the cities whosoever is going to work on a drain rejuvenation project. The second part is the portfolio of the targeted solutions, the whole basket of the nature-based solutions and the hybrid solution options which are there, and what percentage can give you what kind of output. And the last one is the implementation mechanism. This is mostly from the city-driven thing which has been added, so that a ready-made template for RFP, a tender document, can be given to the cities, where they can fill in the information and customize it according to their, because mostly they do not know how to fill in those BOQs with those specific targets. And that is where it came from. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Simranpreet, for that really rich presentation.